Okay, welcome to Newcastle Borough Council's Cabinet meeting today. We're in a strange environment today. We're not in our usual room because there's a planning appeal going on down in the Astley room. So we're in the leader's office today. I'd like to welcome Cabinet members and officers in the room, particularly Cabinet member David Hutchins for Sustainable Environment, also Councillor Jill Heason for Community Safety, Wellbeing, Craig Scalding for Leisure, Culture and Heritage, Andy Fear for Strategic Planning, and Deputy Leader Stephen Sweeney for Town Centres, Finance and Growth. And I'm Council Leader Simon Tide. Welcome to anybody that's obviously viewing this in an ante-room off to the right somewhere, because this room won't fit the public in, but we do have a public area. Welcome to the meeting, and anybody watching this online after can see a link below the video on YouTube for a link to the agenda. So we'll get on to our agenda, and first item is apologies. Don't have any because all Cabinet members are here. Item 2 is declarations of interest for items on the agenda. Do you have any from Cabinet members? Not seeing any. Item 3 is minutes of the previous meeting as attached on page 5 and to 10. Can we agree those as a correct record? Agreed, thank you. That brings us to our first item, which is Wally's Quarry odour issues. Now, I say always at this stage, we've been having this report now for a number of years, and I think this is probably a landmark meeting actually within days of the Environment Agency issuing a closure notice on Wally's Quarry Limited, which I think is long overdue, and we welcome that. I think it's been welcomed by the community since the news broke on Thursday, and I'd just like first of all to pay tribute to the community for the hard work that they've put in over the last few years. Of course, they aren't working for the Environment Agency, they're not councillors, they're not council officers. They've actually had to suspend their lives, some of them, to fight this, and well done and congratulations to them to get to this stage. It's early days, there's a long way to go. There is an appeals process to the closure notice, which the operator could undertake, and we believe, according to their comments on Thursday, that they're going to do that. But I think hats off to the community for the work that they put in. I'd like to also thank council officers for their diligence and commitment to this, and that's still going to be ongoing, as I'll talk about in a minute, as this is not over yet. And also to members of the council who have stood firmly together across political divide to enable us to fight this horrible, toxic gas that has been and is still polluting our town. Also, thank you to MPs past and present that have taken that message to Westminster, and obviously to ministers and to Secretary of States and to the head apparatus at the Environment Agency. So I think really we've had a backdrop, we saw at our last meeting, of rising complaints, and also monitoring equipment was showing spikes of odours around site, and that has continued through November. I think November is probably one of the worst months we've had, particularly it's the worst November we've ever had, with a massive complaints, up to 842 when the report was published. I think it's probably even higher than that now, on the back of further complaints. And I think my plea to the community, now that the site is closed, of course it can take soil for capping, because the Environment Agency requested as part of the closure notice that capping take place on the exposed face, is that though it is closed, we're going to still be having the odours coming off. So it's really important that people report not only to the Borough Council, to the Environment Agency as well, through the reporting mechanisms, to enable obviously a flavour of the situation to continue to be taken for any action, and also for defending the appeal against the closure notice. So I'm going to bring in our Chief Executive, Gordon Mole, now, just to talk about obviously the Council's legal action, because the Council is in the process of legal action. Obviously, this now has come as extra news on Thursday about the closure notice. I'll just bring Gordon in to just give us an update on how that affects, as far as we know at the moment, obviously legal action by the council through the abatement notice process. Gordon.
Great. Thank you, Leader. So in respect of the action of the council, we'll obviously now take account of the Environment Agency's issuing, as you say, of a closure notice on the 20th of November, which prohibits Wally's Quarry from receiving waste and requiring works on the site over the next few months to bring about the closure of the landfill site. We've provided a copy of the closure notice for Cabinet's awareness as Appendix 3 to report. That obviously sets out both the process and the appeals process. We are aware that Wally's Quarry Limited in response to the closure notice, have issued their own release to say that they will challenge that notice and take their own action. In light of the developments from last week, the council will continue to take the action necessary to seek to address the matters which we have pursued under the powers that we have. And in light of these new factors, we'll obviously evaluate and take that into consideration in respect of both our process, but also our desire to seek the redress of the issues, particularly around odour, in the strongest possible terms.
Thank you, Gordon. And along with that plea for people to continue to report odours, I went past the entrance of the quarry an hour or so ago. The gates were closed, but there was still a very strong odour around the gates and up into the Gallas Street roundabout and through to Keele Road as well. So it's important, but also I think it's really important on the back of what Gordon has said is to say that we cannot give a running commentary again on legal action, even more so now with this abatement notice in place and seeking further legal advice on how to proceed. I think when we can, we will make things public to as much as we can, as we have done so far, and we pledge to continue to do that. I'm going to open it up now to Cabinet's comments. First of all, Andy.
Thank you very much. No, I was really pleasantly surprised when this closure notice came through. It is a triumph, as has already been said, for the community. Newcastle hasn't had many friends in this. It's worked very hard for itself, and those people who stood protesting outside gates, going up to the offices and protesting, must feel that all of that hard work has paid off in the end. Although, again, I think the leader is dead right. We mustn't let go now. This is not the end. Hopefully it's the beginning of the end of the process, but nonetheless, we do need to keep pressure on. It's nice to be able to relax, let go, but reporting these odours is going to continue to be a very important thing. And I think, here at the council, again, our officers have done a magnificent job in covering this, producing evidence, which makes it pretty much impossible for the Environment Agency in the end to ignore this sort of stuff. And we need to make sure that the Environment Agency continues to step up to the plate in that regard. I'm old enough to remember little public service adverts on the telly. I don't know if anyone else remembers the one about the burst water pipe. And it ends by saying, well done, sir, an object lesson in how to deal with a burst water pipe. And everybody grins. And then it says, what a pity you let it happen in the first place. And I must say, that's my feeling about the Environment Agency.
Thank you, Andy. Steve.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. Yeah, I agree with everything Andy's just said. Really, we must still keep the pressure on. The smell is reaching Clayton on a fairly regular basis now, which it hasn't done for the last couple of years. But what I'd like to say really is, Sam, you busy thanked everybody for the work, the officers, the members sitting on this table, the members of the council, and the residents. But it takes me, I think, to thank you really for the work you've done and for keeping this wretched place on top of our agenda for the last 7 years. I think your leadership has been exemplary, and I congratulate you and thank you entirely for me, and I think for everyone else on this cabinet, and for everybody in Newcastle really, for the work and effort and drive you put into this.
Thank you, Steve. And as you say, it's not over yet. We need to keep foot on the pedal on this. David?
Yeah, I'd like to again echo everyone's comments so far. I'd like to thank everybody who's taken part in this. Our residents will be very pleased at what's been happening. The complaints have been getting more and more over the last 3 months or so. September, we had 105 complaints to the Borough Council. October, I think, was 269. And November was 1,057. So the residents weren't falling foul to complaint fatigue. They were continuing to complain. And what's happened is the right thing. And I'm sure our residents will be really happy with what's gone on.
Jill.
Yeah, this closure's been a long time coming. Obviously, I welcome it, as do the residents. But again, as colleagues have already said, I think going forward, it is important to continue to work to manage this closure and any other actions that we need to take.
Great.
Yeah, I echo the thoughts of cabinet members and the staff leader. But I think for many years now, the residents have had to suffer the stench that's been coming from this site. And I think more on numerous times, they've just lost heart with what the EA have been doing on this. So I hope that the residents, the protesters and everyone involved who've put in so much hard work, I hope that now we can start to welcome what the EA are finally going to do with this. And there's light at the end of the tunnel now. It's been a long, hard road to get there, but through the hard work of everyone, we can see an end to this. And hopefully with this closure notice, I think we can resolve this issue once and for all.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you for the comments. I think I've just said publicly that we need to make this stick, make the closure notice stick, so that this site doesn't open again and it's restored, capped and then restored properly. I think we support the EA and the action they're taking, and we're right behind them if there is an appeal to fight that appeal as well. So this site remains closed and those works have been done by the operator, and I call on the operator to do those works you've been asked to do to cap this site. Sooner or later, I think the community needs to move on from this now after all of these years, and I think the decision by the Environment Agency on Thursday opens it up now for us to find some closure, as you just said there, Councillor Scalding Craig, is that there's a route out of this now after all these years. Sometimes it's been we've had meetings of this cabinet where would this ever end? Will this ever be resolved? And I think that this action now opens a path for us to do that. So really welcome it. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for Gordon, and again pass on to Nesta and the team in our environmental health team. We're still going to be working away on this issue for all the work that they've done of keeping this high profile, keeping this from the council's point of view an issue that is live and is something we're looking to resolve, and we continue to do that on behalf of the residents which we represent and which our staff work for every day of the year. So the recommendation before us on this report is we note the contents. We've done that. And we've obviously, I think, welcomed the news on Thursday of the closure notice from the operator. All agreed?
Agreed.
Okay, that brings us to our next item, which is item 5, the Revenue and Capital Budget 25-26 first draft saving plans. And Steve is going to introduce this.
Okay, thanks very much, Ian. This report presents the refreshed medium-term financial strategy, including the first draft proposals being considered to balance the 25-26 revenue budget and the proposed capital programmes for 25-26 to 27-28. Savings and funding strategies have been identified to address a £1.453 million budget gap for 25-26 via a vigorous efficiency board process that have been agreed with managers as being both feasible and sustainable. A significantly below inflation council tax increase of 1.99% per band D property is again proposed. This amounts to 10 pence per week or less for 95% of households within the borough by those residents living in band A, B, C, D and E properties. The savings identified enable a continued contribution of £250,000 to the Borough Growth Fund. This will continue to enable investment in the council's priorities, including significant investments in boosting the sustainability of the environment within the borough and supporting developments of the town centre. The capital programme for 25-26 to 27-28 is based on new schemes which are vital to secure continued delivery and insisting the council achieve its corporate and service objectives as set out in the council plan. These schemes total 94.604 million, of which 15.6 million relates to 25-26. This includes schemes to regenerate the town centres, including schemes partially funded for major investments into the boroughs successfully secured via the Town Deals Fund, both Newcastle and Kidsgrove. Delivering the capital programme for 25-26 will require prudential borrowing to be undertaken. The impact of borrowing is included in the MTFS. The draft proposals will assist in formulating a financially robust budget for the council for 25-26, continuing to ensure the council's financial sustainability whilst also protecting the services that our residents value. Now, I think this council's in really quite a good place with these accounts. I think there's a lot of authorities in Staffordshire will be happy to sit down and say, yeah, we're producing a balanced budget now at the beginning of December. There's no redundancies. There's no service reductions. We're not saying we're shutting a theatre or a museum or anything like that. We're carrying on with less money being spent. And I think it's a really good achievement, this council. And I'm very, very proud. It's not the final budget, obviously that comes in a couple of months, but to be where we are now, I'm very, very happy with that situation.
Thank you. Back you on that, Steve. I think it's makings of a really good budget to take to council in February. I think I'd thank the officers and the cabinet members that have worked on your portfolio area just to find required savings without obviously cutting services. In fact, you know, enhancement of services is taking place through this budget as well. And then that low council tax of 1.99%, we did make that commitment when we were elected in 2022. And this will be the third budget of this term where we've kept that pledge, as we know inflation has been a lot higher and is still it still has gone up, I believe, in the last month, didn't it? So it's still above this. I think at a time when we're seeing still above inflation increases in a lot of things, we are keeping that below and just taking off some of the pressure on budgets, particularly for pensioners in the borough. 23,000 plus pensioners have lost their winter fuel allowance in the cut from the Labour government. So to keep our council tax low is something which we pledged to do. I think it's even more important this year that we do that than we have in previous years. Open up now to cabinet members. David?
Yeah. Yes, I welcome this medium-term financial strategy. It's a very, very good report. All areas in the council have been able to find savings without any redundancies and without any dropping of services. The street scene and recycling is being continued to be protected. In my portfolio, we now have solar panels on the Bradwell Crematorium and the chapel and the Kale Cemetery offices and the Kids Grove Town Hall. This is going to bring in saving. These are now live, these are now active, which is great news. We're now looking at collecting trade waste in the inner circle of the ring road, which is great news. There's a lot of cardboard there that I want, because every 1 ton of cardboard recycled will save up to 17 trees, and that's really, really important for our net zero by 2030 at the council and 2050 for the area as a whole. Trees are the ultimate carbon capture machines, so we really want to look after them and try and keep as many as possible. We're targeting fixed penalty notices for fly tipping. We're having a zero tolerance on fly tipping, which is correct. And we're now we've enhanced the direct cremations at Bradwell Crematorium, which is more and more popular. And in my department, not quite sure, but I think we're probably be saving about 150 to 200,000. And I said that's without any redundancies, any changing of services. We're improving what we're already doing, and this is making a saving.
Thank you. Any other comments, Jill?
Yeah, it's essential that council makes the best use of resources. I'm pleased to say there will be no reduction in services to the Vulnerability Hub, which plays a vital part working in partnership with other agencies and ensuring services are provided to homeless, potential homeless and vulnerable people. And that's quite essential for us as a council to provide those services.
Thank you, Jill. Craig?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Councillor Sweeney actually on the amount of work that's gone into this, and but over the last year or so, putting us in a financial position now that's quite enviable by other councils. With the resources that we've got for ourselves and we can provide for residents of the borough. I mean, within my portfolio, we've got the Jubilee 2 Centre. I mean, footfall's buoyant. It's always increasing around the 4,000 mark on membership. The referral programme that we've been able to use through funding that we've acquired is going well. It's picking up traction, and we've even got plans now to work towards carbon net zero carbon emissions on the site as well, which will be a massive help to the budget in the future. Another site, the museum, footfall and use of that site's working really well. There's a good full schedule of events at the museum, and both of these sites are just self-funding, and they're not any cost to the council, and it helps to have such a strong strategic capital strategy behind us, and I think it is enviable by other councils, like I said before.
Thank you. And I think on that museum point, I think Steve mentioned earlier, I think it's Cannock Chase District Council are doing a consultation on closing their museum. If anything, we're enhancing it. We're bringing money in from outside on the back of the wonderful year of 850 in 2023. It's going from strength to strength, and that's down to the staff that run the museum and the people of the borough that you know go there, visit it, look after it, and the younger people that get their visit to the museum, which I think plants the museum in their mind for the future, which is really good. So thank you. If you could pass on the thanks to the museum staff, and of course J2 for the hard work that they're doing on keeping the membership up and making that after the COVID lockdowns was a very sorry state, wasn't it, for membership? But that's come back stronger.
Yeah.
And we do have two very vibrant sports centres now in our borough, in Kidsgrove, run by the community, and here in the borough centre here in Newcastle town centre at J2, which is brilliant. Andy.
Oh, thanks, Simon. No, this is a super document, really. I mean, I couldn't have concocted it myself, so and my thanks go out to those who have thought this through and come up with such an excellent piece of work. What I think it shows very, very clearly is that this council keeps its promises. We said we were going to go in with a low council tax. I think that's not only right pragmatically, I think it's morally right. We should be taking the very least people's earnings from them anytime. We've also shown that actually throwing money at things is not the way forward. What we've got here is a lean council, a council that's not cut services, that's improved services, as we've heard, in all sorts of ways. And yet we're not taking more and more money from people. So I think we showing here that we are delivering exactly what we said we were going to deliver. This is a medium-term strategy, so we can see that there's determination to continue delivering those promises. And so far, I think it's going great.
Thank you. Just a couple of points before we go through recommendations. One, we haven't mentioned too much about the impact of the One Council programme on this, which has made significant savings over the last few years and this year. We've got an item about the One Council review coming up next. Also, it says in recommendation 3 that any surpluses identified while setting the budget be transferred into reserves, and that's really important because obviously the Wallis Quarry Reserve, which Council transferred more money into at its last meeting, we still, as we saw with the previous item 4, sorry, that we still may need to tap into that, and will do as we progress any legal action going forward. So it's quite right that any surpluses that may come up during this process should be put back into that reserve because we've already dipped into them for the Wallis Quarry action on behalf of our residents. And then really lastly is that this next step for this saving draft plan is to go to fact scrutiny, where it will be scrutinised by council members, and then will come back to us in January and be finalised through the process for our budget setting meeting in February. But there's a raft of recommendations in the report. Can we agree those?
Great.
Thank you. So that brings us then to our next item, which is One Council review and next steps. Again, really attached, as I said, to the budget we've just and the draft savings we've just been discussing. The One Council programme came out of learning from how the council changed its operations during the COVID pandemics and the lockdown particularly, working in different ways, and we set up a programme on the back of that to try and make savings across the council without affecting frontline services, but also to improve frontline services. I think one of the key things of One Council was using new technology, using new ways of working to achieve better services, but also to make significant savings. And through the One Council programme, which comes to an end in its present form this year, we have baked into the budget every year now 1.17 million savings on the back of the One Council programme. And that has been, as it says in the report and also in the attached document, has been through looking at processes of the way the council works, looking at the back office, looking at the front office, the customer services, the people that thing that most people, residents, would see when they contact the council, a revamped website, more services available on the website to a first point of call as well, but also making sure that we have that human face or voice behind the scenes as well, if needed, to deal with residents' complaints, and also by using technology to help our operators out on the streets, whether that's recycling with the IT systems that are integrated into that and the collections, whether that's street scene, whether that's dog wardens, whether that's any other services, our wardens in the town, all working as one council, so that serving the public. And as David said earlier, bringing in the fines for the fly tipping system is really important as well, to show that there is a bite at the end of it, because I get complaints about fly tipping, I get complaints about graffiti, and at the end of the process, particularly on fly tipping or bins left out all week, there needs to be an end result where somebody has to get fined. But I think that's right after all the processes have been gone through. But One Council has been a great success, but it doesn't end here. It does continue in other forms, and as it says in the report, and one of the recommendations is that there will be 3 work streams that will continue, and it will be called the One Green Council, and that is David's leading on that one, which is part of our net zero 2030, use some of the methodology and some of the learning from One Council to enable us to reach where we want to go, which isn't all about just reaching carbon zero, it's about also energy savings and also helping the budget in the future by less costs. Then there's the Digital One Council, something that I'll be leading on, which is to really continue that drive for digital across the county, integrating AI and all the latest IT innovations that are taking place to enable us to work more smartly, to help our residents to get the services that they need, and also to save money in the long term. We've got an item coming up next, which starts to bring that forward. And then finally, Commercial One Council, and that is, as a council, we know we're involved in a lot of regeneration, but also we want to see that we can increase the commercial activities of the council, where we can create income from business units and all the types of investments that we may get involved in. So that can then recycle itself into the budget and help us to keep that council tax low and services going in the long term. So that's what we are bringing today, is that relook at the council's One Council programme review, then also those next steps where we take the learning forward into those three key areas. Opens up now to cabinet members. Start with Steve.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think the One Council approach, I think, has been the finest achievement of this administration. For an initial spend of 1.2 million, we expect to save 1.17 million a year forever, and I think it's been a utterly superb process, to be honest with you. I think again it's the foresight of this council thinking, well, let's prepare for the future. I think other authorities probably think leaf out of our books, really, where we look to the future all the time. The commercial strategy again, we need an authority that is sustainable, that produces the biggest part of the money that it spends itself, and that's what the commercial strategy is all about. And tying it in with the One Council, I think, is the right way. And if we get the same savings out of that as we know everything else, I think it's a good step for the future. And absolutely support that. It's a brilliant process that has paid hugely to Newcastle Borough Council.
Thank you, Steve. David.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the One Council programme, great success. The street scene team, I think this area was the first to review their business processes via the programme, and the whole team engaged with the review with great enthusiasm. I'd even go as far as to say that when you go down the depot, the enthusiasm is so strong, it almost becomes tangible. Customer journeys were covered, were wide-ranging. They included fly tipping removal and investigations, graffiti removal, and litter bin emptying. We can just chat for a few seconds on litter bin emptying. These changes made great savings in the team. Particularly note is that the route planning and the emptying of the litter bins has saved approximately 499 hours, 1,500 in fuel cost, and we've saved approximately 3.14 tonnes of carbon. With the litter bin emptying now, the One Council programme has allowed us to know where each litter bin is digitally, which allows the emptying frequencies to be continually monitored and adjusted if required. This improves the efficiency of the collections and whether we have the right litter bin in the right location. And these changes are improving the overall efficiency in the litter collection service and ensuring protection of our good local environment here in the borough.
Thank you. So recommendations before us are printed. Just one which I'll highlight is obviously we're going to send this to our scrutiny committee to have a look at as well and to monitor going forward, and particularly when it splits off into the three work programmes. I think the other scrutiny committees, particularly environment and also economic development, will have a scrutiny role on those bits of work, and the digital screen will come under the facts committee, which this report is going to, I believe, later in the week, isn't it? So can we agree the recommendations? Thank you. That brings us then to our next item, which is procurement of the corporate customer relation management and case management systems. Again, sounds a bit of a dry subject, really, but I think tied in with the previous item, I think that talk about improving services, saving money, and also that sort of digitisation agenda, which we talk about, is encapsulated within this. We do have a confidential report which goes into more details about the partner for this and also the funding around it. But I think I'd welcome this as a means of continuing to improve customer services in the council to our residents, and also to make those savings. And I think we will see in next year's budget setting process, hopefully, the fruits of moving to this new case management and customer relation management system as well. So really endorse this, but we'll open it up to any comments. Steve.
Just to reiterate what reason number 2 is, harnessing new technologies to support service delivery and efficiency is a key strategy aim of the council's technology strategy. And this captures that. This is what it's all about.
Yes.
Bringing new things into. Yeah.
Okay, any other comments? No, I'd just like to thank, obviously, we've got Sam sitting at the end of the table there, who's our head of digital, and thank him and his team because of the innovation that's coming through this, through the digital strategy, and this is part of that. And thank you for the work you've done on this, and look forward to seeing the fruits of this, not only in better customer services for our residents and services to our residents, but also that saving, which I'm sure Steve and Sarah, our finance officer, will welcome as we obviously look at the gap for the next budget in the following year. But the recommendations are before us. All agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. That brings us to item 8, which is car park strategy 2019 to 2029 update, and Steve's leading on this.
Thank you. Yeah, it's the 10-year strategy. The car park strategy was done in 2019. So it should happen in 2029, but it's not. It's 2024. The reason being that, of course, we've got the Newcastle car park with its electric charging points, its lighting, it's a safe modern environment. Of course, the Newcastle car park allows us to redevelop the Midway, which is a vital part of our redevelopment of the town centre. The sort of highlights on it: free parking on 5 events a year, working in conjunction with the bid. We still have an option to use cash, which I think is vital for people that people of my age, perhaps they don't want to go on apps and things like that. They'd rather just pay cash, and we've still got that facility. There's 21st and 22nd December, 28th, 29th December, 4th and 5th of January, where it'll be free parking. It's to support the town centres and to help the traders. So it's just a refresh. It's not a whole new policy. We're still doing the pound after 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I happily support this and recommend it for everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, welcome this. I think when we sat down well, it would almost be 7 years ago when we took over control of the council. We got through the election in 2018, and we're back in control of the council with our independent colleagues at that stage, and we sat down and looked at a parking strategy. We weren't happy with the way it was going on parking, and that's when we introduced the £1 after 1 and those extra 3 days free on a Sunday, of course, as well, to help bring trade into the town centre. I think the service level car parks will be just as important as they've always been, but we will have our new Castle car park, which will open on the Rycroft. As Steve said, it is the anchor for the rest of the development that's going to go on now. We've already seen applications coming in for parts of that site coming to planning committee in the future months, and also working with our partners Aspire and Capital and Centric on the middle part of the site, and McCarthy Stone on the far side of the site from the car park. So anybody that drives around the ring road at the moment will see the new car park, and of course due to open early in the new year as well, and finishing touches being made to that as well. I think it is a car park. It's not going to be the most beautiful thing in our town, but I think it actually, with the way we've personalised it to have the Borough Council logo on the panelling and the colours to actually meet the colours of this building, actually the Castle House. It is a signature sort of development on the edge of the town, which will be the gateway into the town in the future, as well with the castle name. We are Newcastle, and we no longer have a castle. We have a car park that's named Castle Car Park, which is I think is something was appropriate to name it that on the edge of the town there. I look forward to it opening and becoming a place which is clean, friendly, and as you say, got the electric charging points, secure as well. And it's well lit as well and is safe, which anybody that has used the Midway car park will know that there are problems with lighting, problems with flooding, well past its sell by date as a car park. But of course, when the new car park opens, that will close, and then Capital Centric will begin to weave their magic on bringing that forward as an apartment development in the future. But this plan is about, and the update to the parking strategy is to update on the fact that the new car park comes on stream in January. And I think long gone are the days when this council saw car parking as a cash cow. But we do have overheads on car parks. It's trying to explain to people that can't we give free parking 24/7? It's because of the costs. Each is its own business, almost every car park, isn't it, and pays business rates. They have to be tarmac, they have to be kept clean. this ticket machines have to be serviced, and then there is that enforcement role as well, which comes on top of that as well through our wardens. So I think, you know, we are competitive on parking in North Staffordshire. We do have those free parking days, and we also have a brand new car park, which is meeting the criteria of a modern facility coming online in January to support the redevelopment of the town, but also to help the footfall in the town and shops and businesses to thrive as well. So recommendations, which Steve has touched on, are in the report, and that's how we approve the updates to the strategy going forward. Cabinet all agreed? That's great, thank you. And that then brings us to item 9, which is our forward plan, which is our forward look at Cabinet agenda over the next 3 months. As he presses on his computer. Obviously, the first couple of pages are dealing with this meeting today, and we brought all the items we wish to bring to the December Cabinet. Then we've got January, where we'll be having a Wallace Quarry update. That'll be quite interesting update on, you know, the site would have been closed for over a month then. We'll know more about any appeals, and we'll also have an update on council's legal action by that point, hopefully. And then we've got schedules of fees and charges, and also memorial headstone policy, an International House Contract Award, and also decarbonisation of council buildings and fleet update. And then in February, we have the Kidsgrove Town Deal Board Award contract for a shared service hub development, which will be of interest to people in Kidsgrove, and a development there for their town centre near the station. Then we've got the revenue and capitals budget strategies coming back to us in February, where we have a Wallace Quarries update, of course, and then Q3 performance. And then March, we just have one item at the moment, which is that Wallace Quarry update. Can we agree the forward plan? Great. Item 10 is urgent business. We don't have any urgent business. Item 11 is disclosure of exempt information. We do have an item, which is the procurement of the CRM, the case management system that we discussed earlier, the confidential paper. So I'll move that resolve that the public be excluded from the meeting during the consideration of those reports, as disclosed of exempt information as defined by paragraph part 1, schedule 12A of the Local Government Act. All agreed? Thank you. I will now